Tom, when you had Jalen and Josh there on the scores table waiting to check it, get in, what was the thought process of not calling a timeout or not getting them back in the game as that lead kind of went up?
Just where we were with our timeouts, coach's decision.
Your overall thoughts on the officiating today?
It is what it is.
Coach, how hard is it for players to adjust when the game is just called differently, right? From the first couple of games, it was very physical, both sides. This one, it seemed like they were calling touch fouls versus before. What's it like for a player to adjust? What's the message to them to adjust?
You got to adjust the way they call it.
When Steph was referencing, you were, I think, one foul away from the bonus. Is that why you chose not to foul there, too, to stop the clock, to get those guys in?
Just coach's decision.
Tom, just more specifically on that, like when you have one timeout in that situation, you obviously don't want to go into the close part of the game and the end of the game with no timeouts. What are you weighing there in order to try to get guys in? Like, is there a marker that you're waiting for in
Well,
time?
you're looking time, score, penalty, timeouts, all of the above. What's happening in the game? You feel like the next possession, we'll put it away. Like, there's a lot that goes into it.
Tom, you talked before the game about the focus on tonight, but again, a 10-point deficit in the second half. You see the same sort of things third quarter.
Yeah, we got to play for 48 minutes.
Just what was Josh Hart dealing with when he briefly left?
I haven't talked to medical. He had to go out. Jalen had to go out. OG had to go out.
Going back to Detroit, Coach, what message do you send to the guys?
The challenge is to reset. Every game's different, and take a look at the film, see what we could do better, and be ready to go next game.
Tom, the crunch time in the fourth quarter, I know you talked a couple games ago about wanting to kind of get into the offense quicker. It seemed like you guys were getting into your sets a little bit late in the fourth. Was that something that you felt like was a problem, or do you think?
Well, yeah, we had some guys that were out, so that's the challenge. We didn't know when they were coming back, if they were coming back, so that's part of it. So you got different combinations out there.
Coach, can you talk about what Mitch gave you guys tonight?
Yeah, I thought he gave us good lift, good energy. The rebounding was good enough. Defense was good enough. Our turnovers hurt us, so we got to clean that up.
Is it the wrist?
Wrist back, but yeah.
What was it like being at the scores table, standing there watching the clock melt away as the team was trying to make the comeback?
Obviously, that's tough. You always want to be out there, but we had good looks. I trust my guys. We had a couple good shots to cut that lead, and they just didn't go in. So, basketball, it happens.
Josh, would you go back to the locker room for?
Just needed to regroup, walk it off, and then try to go back in.
Which wrist is it? It's
my whole body's bothering me.
This series has been, especially the last few games, one possession finishes. What was the difference tonight?
We got to figure out how to come out of halftime better. I think this is the third game in a row. I'm blanking on game 1 and 2, but we go into the halftime with a lead, and then we go into the fourth quarter down. So we gotta figure that out. We gotta come out of halftime more aggressive, and punch first.
You guys were sitting there at the scorer's table for a while the clock was going. Did you think someone would maybe intentionally foul?
No, I mean, that's tough, because you're not trying to foul. We got stops. We got good looks. Like I said, I trust my guys, and wasn't our day today, but we'll regroup, watch the film, learn from it, and then we got another one on Thursday.
Josh, with the injuries that can pile up in a series like this, how important is it to end this series as fast as you can?
I mean, I think everybody in the playoffs, you know, they want to win every game. You know, I don't, you know, I don't.
In other words, you don't want it to come back here for Game 7.
I mean, you want to win every game.
Yeah.
You know, if it was, you know, if I had my way, we would have swept them.
Yeah.
Or if they had their way, they would have swept us. You know, we're not looking at that. We just got to make sure we focus on fixing the mistakes that we had today and going to Detroit, you know, ready to go.
The finish of that game, like especially with two teammates at the scores table waiting to come in.
Yeah, it was tough, man. We didn't execute where we wanted to, personally as well. Yeah, it's tough. Just got to get ready for next game.
Going into this game, you know, closing out a series, you guys went through it last year. Though this team went through it last year,
Yep.
But how difficult is it to get to that to finish off a team that has been playing scratch and claw in this whole series?
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a playoffs. You know, two really good teams, and they're not going to go down without swinging. And yeah, we got to be prepared. You know, on both ends, and just couldn't get it done tonight.
You knocked down that three, that like final seconds of the game, and you guys still had a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, again, take me through that moment of just desperation shots at that point.
Yeah, man. Just, you know, you don't stop playing till it hits zero. So obviously, I wish I had a couple of shots in that fourth that I thought it was going to drop, but like you say, you know, you can't just keep your head down. You got to keep going until clock is zero, and you know, we still had possession, so I had a chance at the end of the game. But yeah. What do you think you guys can do to, I guess, come out stronger out of half? I don't know, man. I think we gotta maybe do some lay blinds or something coming out of halftime, get everybody out there, you know, moving. You know, I think that's, you know, I had the same situation like that when I was in Phoenix. You know, we started the third quarter off and we had to change something for everybody to get out there and start moving, you know, mentally to get everybody right. So I think that's it, man. We just gotta, as much as we say play hard and we gotta do what we say it every time, and we still don't get it done. So I think maybe warming up or something might got to get us going a little bit.
Without Jalen and times when maybe a call wasn't going your way in the third quarter, when maybe you guys were getting frustrated, does that sometimes maybe contribute to those struggles in the third?
Yeah, man. We just got, you know, we talk to each other, tell each other we got to leave the refs alone. It's part of the game. You know, they're human. You know, they're going to make the right calls. They're going to miss the calls. You know, you just can't, you know, let that control you and affect you, and then, you know, the team get out in transition and, you know, messes our game up. So we just got to, you know, just know it's us out there, you know, and just stick with it together.
Jalen's been so good for you guys down in the clutch. Was it kind of like a weird thing that those last few minutes he wasn't out there?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's different. You know, he's gonna have that ball, you know, but don't mean that we can't step up. You know, I should have made shots and, you know, hold it down for him as much as he hold it down for us when we're out there. So, you know, we just got to be better.
Was plus 10 from the line tonight. Could you just sense early that they conservatively just came out and played with a little more force offensively tonight?
I mean, you know, you expected that. You know, it's a closeout game, 3-1, and you expect them to come that desperate and also come with that energy. You know, season's on the line, so you know, they hit shots when they had to, and got the stops they needed when they needed to.
Carl, what'd you think of the officiating tonight?
You know, it didn't change the fact we didn't do our part. So if we do our part, then we have a different combo.
Carl, when that stretch where Jalen was out of the game, can you just take me through what was going on there and why the offense really couldn't get going?
I gotta watch the tape. You know, I don't have an answer to that because I gotta rewatch it. There was a lot going on when all that happened, so I gotta rewatch it before I could give you a good answer.
Carl, this back to officiating. What's it take for players to figure out how a game is being officiated and make the adjustments? What does it take?
You know, it just takes for us to not be worrying about that. I think, you know, we got to worry about the things we can control, the controllables. You know, we can control our effort, we can control our execution, our discipline. I think that's the part that we need to be focusing more on than the officiating.
Did you have any feeling for why it took you guys kind of a long time to get started today?
You know, we just, like, we put ourselves in a deficit early. All series we've been fighting back, and I can't. I'm not sure right now. I know I got to watch the tape, but I think for us, we just got to do a better job of executing at a higher level, stay disciplined with the ball, prize the basketball a little better, all of us. So when I watch the tape, I have better answers.
Carl, as you said, you guys have been able to come back, particularly in the fourth quarters in these games, and close them out. Just obviously, there are just little things that make the difference. Tonight, what was the difference in them being able to just hold you guys off?
I think in the fourth they got a lot of 50-50 balls. Just basketballs. That just so happenly ended up in their hands, allowing them to get some points off of blocks and steals, and just things that sometimes it just goes your way. So, but also too, you gotta give them credit. They put themselves in position so the game could go their way.
Carl, we've praised your guys' resiliency all season. Obviously, you guys have won some games here in the fourth, but is there a little bit of concern about the hole you guys are digging yourselves in prior to the fourth? I think you guys have trailed going into, if not all the third quarters, most of them. Is there equal concern as there is for the praise and closing it out?
I mean, you have a good point. We haven't put ourselves in a position to get a commanding win. We've been very gritty this whole series and physical, and it's allowed us to find a way a lot of times to win. I think what was the differential in Detroit, like 3 points. So, you only could do it so many times before, it comes back to bite you. I think that tonight we put ourselves in that position and we just didn't find a way to get that magical ending.
Carl, you're not a particularly up-tempo team. You run opportunistically, but not up-tempo.
We're better with pace.
Yeah, what I was wondering about the pace that you guys were playing with tonight. It seemed like maybe slower to get into your initial action in a lot of sets.
Like I said, when we're executing at a high level, we've shown in this series how good we could be. So I think you make a great point. We didn't come out the gates with that kind of pace that's needed against a team like this. And we kept finding ourselves having spurts of energy when when you're playing a game like this in a 3-1 lead, a game that to end the series, you gotta have that kind of pace for 48 minutes. We just didn't do that tonight.
Is there anything you want to do differently going into Game 6 personally?
Win the game. That would be on the top of my list for sure. This? Oh, don't worry about that.